And first of all, a really big thank you to everyone who's subscribed to my channel. If you haven't already, hopefully you'll find these videos useful enough to want to. Now this video today, I just wanted to share with you some tips on closing. So first of all, let me just define closing. Now for me, closing is about gaining a commitment or an agreement to something. The something is crucial because the something is the objective. So I would say that closing is about gaining a commitment or an agreement to your objective. So it's really important to have an objective. Now if you didn't have an objective, you have no end game. If you have no end game, you have no results. You can't measure it at least. It'd be a little bit like running a 100-meter race without a finish line. You wouldn't know where you'd go, when you've finished or if you've achieved it. So please always remember, have an objective, feed yourself an objective. And equally important as having an objective is making sure that that objective is realistic. You really don't want to be trying to run before you can walk, for example. Let me just explain that one a little bit better. If you're going to have an objective that is realistic, it's got to fit in the sales process. So I would always say that a really good objective is about gaining a commitment or an agreement to progress to the next stage, whatever that next stage is. So we'll start with a phone call. If you're making a phone call, maybe your first objective is to qualify the prospect. Qualify the prospect is about making sure that you're not wasting your time, so you can move forward with it. The next objective might be to get through to the decision maker. That's progressing it. Then at the decision maker, you might be thinking, okay, my next objective is to get a meeting. You're progressing. At that face-to-face meeting, your next objective might be to get to a position where you can quote. At that quote, you may be thinking, right, my next objective is to get this customer to agree to what's on that quote so we can provide the service and put into place a start date. So hopefully you get what I'm saying now. It's about having an objective that is realistic to the stage in the sales process that you are at. Otherwise, if you're thinking about selling when you haven't even made contact with the decision maker, then you're really going to set yourself too high an objective, well, it's not reachable, it's unrealistic. And all you end up doing then is getting frustrated and upset that you can't quite reach it. So make it realistic to the stage of the sales process that you are at. And then pat yourself on the back afterwards. I'll give you, I can attach that to the analogy that I used earlier with the 100-meter run. People like Usain Bolt, Mike Gatting, could stand in the blocks, could be preparing themselves in the block, and mentally they'd be saying to themselves, my objective is to win this race. Now, somebody else who has got no chance of winning is not going to have in their head, I'm going to win this race. Their objective is more likely to be, I'm going to get my personal best. That's what I mean by realistic. So in the same way, apply that to your sales process. Make it so that you can come out of it having progressed, that's an achievement, but also making it realistic so you're not trying to run ahead of yourself and disappoint yourself. My second point is about the questioning. Now, quite often, people think closing happens at the end of a sales process. You do see it, you kind of see the lead generation, then the next stage in the sales process is to have an appointment, and then it's to have a face-to-face meeting, and then a quote, and negotiation, then close. I don't know why there is that close at the end, because actually the close starts right at the beginning. Just as I've explained, at every stage in the sales process you're closing. So you should be getting used to asking these closing questions right from the beginning, and if you're not, then get used to it. Because, guys, telling is not selling. If you just tell, and not question, then you might find that you're so busy telling that you're way off track at the end of the sale, and you're not going to get it. You're just going to get a load of objections. So make sure that you question all the way through the sales process. Closing questions to make sure you're on the right track so that you can close it when it comes so you can close the final deal when it comes to that stage in the process. And my third point today, very quickly, fear. Get rid of it. Because if you have fear in your head, you're not going to ask the questions to move it forward. A number of times I've seen people or heard people on the phone and they'll say all the right things, you'll ask all the right questions, but they just won't say something like, right, so can I have his mobile number? Or can I have her direct line? Or can you put me through to her? Or can you give me the time when she's going to be back? And it's these questions that you kind of think, right, these are the questions that are going to move you forward to the next stage in the sales process. It could be, right, who else is quoting for this? And what's it going to take for me to be the one that you choose? That's the closing question. It could be, can I have your business? Whatever question it is, don't fear it. All you're doing is asking for something that they might just say no to. And if they say no, then you'll find out the reason why they say no. And if you find out the reason why they say no, then actually you've just learned something. That's brilliant, isn't it? So either way, whichever way you look at it, you're kind of coming away with a win-win. You're either going to learn why not, or you're going to get it. So what can you lose by asking the question? Guys, inhibitions, get rid of them. Children don't have them. They're the best closers in the world. How many times have you heard a child give up and they ask a first time? They don't. They are the best closers. Kids have absolutely no fear whatsoever. And then there's the other side of the spectrum, the older people. They don't give a, do they? So take a leaf out of both sides of the spectrum. Don't fear it and don't worry about it. Just ask. The worst thing that will happen is you'll learn something either about what you've said, what you've done, or something about your product or service that you need to think about in terms of how you put that forward going ahead into other calls. But you'll learn something. And remember, it'll just be an objection at this stage. It doesn't mean you've lost it. It actually helps you to recover by knowing. So ask, 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 get rid of the fear, get rid of the inhibitions, and you'll do really, really well. Now, I hope these tips have helped, and let me know if there's anything else you want help with. But I look forward to talking to you again. Take care.